Greetings, beautiful. This is Julia Treat from Stepping into the Light. I am your host, and I am thrilled to be talking with my naturopath today, Lynn Wright, one of my favorite people in the world, who, if you've heard me talk about her, she definitely saved my life. I was ridden with Lyme disease for many years, and then she was the one that helped me determine what was going on inside of my body. So she got me on the right path to health and wellness. And she is now the only person that I go to that gets to check my blood out. The only person I trust. And welcome, Lynn. Thank you for joining me again.
Thank you for having me, Julia. My name is Lynn Wright. I am a naturopath, a certified naturopath. I'm also a master's prepared nurse. And I have been doing live blood microscopy for many, many years. And tick-borne diseases are something that have just really come to the forefront in the past few years. And they have wreaked havoc in so many ways. It's like every other week they come up with another type of Borrelia. Borrelia burgdorferi was the original Lyme disease. Now there are several Borrelias. There are many types of tick-borne disease. Ticks are carrying a virus, all kinds of nasty things. And it's not just ticks, unfortunately, as you know, it's other insects as well.
Yes. So I just want to tell the audience that, if you're listening to this on the podcast, then if it breaks up a little, just know it's a strange connection today. The camera's freezing a couple of times. If you watch it on YouTube, just know the camera might freeze a little bit, but you should be able to hear us keep talking. You will also see my new blonde hair.
Which looks...
Thank you. Yes, I love it. I had to match my natural halo that was starting in the front.
Makes sense.
So I really wanted to talk today about the connection with Lyme disease and, well, a few things, but autism being one. I know when I was, actively working as a speech pathologist, I sent several families to you. When I got an intuitive hit that they needed to go see you. And they, in fact, I do know of a handful of them that their children did test positive with Lyme with your test, maybe not perhaps at their mainstream doctor or whatever you want to call it, but they not only got tested for Lyme, but then began treatment for Lyme, and their autism symptoms began to go away. So that's why I felt so important that we address this today and talk to you about it. So can you tell me a little bit about the Lyme and autism link? And
absolutely. And of course, my legal disclaimer, I am not a medical doctor, therefore I do not diagnose or treat. But we do see a lot of influence on autism with Lyme. And in fact, some kids, once you treat the Lyme, the autism goes away 100%.
Yes.
And that's not just from getting rid of the bacteria. A lot of times it has to do with changing diet. Kids with autism are super sensitive to chemicals, especially food dyes, especially FD&C red number 3. If parents just take that one thing out of the kid's diet, it makes a huge difference.
Wow.
But treating for Lyme is just huge, and that involves too getting rid of sugar, because sugar feeds bacteria, especially the Borrelia forms of bacteria. And parents will say, wow, within a week of treating for Lyme, my kid's behavior got so much better. They were able to concentrate more. They had better recall. They did better in school. They weren't getting reprimanded for constantly being rowdy and not paying attention. So there is definitely a connection. And unfortunately, it's not picked up by a lot of schools and a lot of teachers. No one thinks to check for Lyme, but that is really important for all of the spectrum disorders.
Okay. That's good to know. I mean, excellent information there. Even just without getting tested for Lyme, some very helpful information. And I always say, well, I want to ask you first, have even children becoming maybe more verbal that were nonverbal or weren't speaking a lot? Have you seen or heard of parents saying their children is now more fluent with their speech or anything?
Absolutely. They're meeting their milestones better. A lot of these kids have everything from delayed growth to speech, and their speech recognition improves, their ability to reason improves, because a lot of Lyme is neurological. Neuroborreliosis is huge, especially in kids. And in kids, one of the first symptoms of Lyme is actually behavior change.
Wow.
Kids who are reasonable suddenly become little devils.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest thing. People, a lot of parents think it's an age-related thing, like the terrible twos or something, but it's not. It can also occur after vaccinations. We hit kids with and food dyes and vaccinations. Lyme on top of all that, you have now made a really difficult situation.
Oh my
It's
God.
not impossible to reverse, though. But you have to get rid of the bacteria, get rid of the inflammation, get rid of the toxicity. And
that's what I want to point out.
mm-hmm.
that you help people do that. It's not putting a Band-Aid on the problem or giving you a pill to make
No,
it.
that doesn't help.
Yeah, or saying, here, take this pill so they act better. It's like, let's take care of what's going on inside.
Mm-hmm.
So that your child isn't like this, I'm freaking out and I don't know how to express it, so I'm just gonna,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, but you really have to hit all aspects of it. You've got to detox. That's one of the first things. And people say, well, how toxic can a 4-year-old be? You would be surprised.
Yes.
Just from the environment, the food they eat, everything they're subjected to, all the plastics, the off-gassing from plastics.
Mm-hmm.
You have to detox. Then you have to build the immune system, because if their immune systems were working well, they wouldn't be having a problem in the first place. And that's huge. Kids used to go outside and get fresh air and exercise and run around, and now too many times they sit in front of a TV or they're on some type of electronic device. That's not natural for humans, especially little humans.
It's I always say it's an escape tactic. I can't
Mm-hmm.
handle this world, so I'm going to go in this tunnel. And then, that'll be another conversation. Addiction can start with, the video games, and then some of us are addicted to, different foods or alcohol, drugs. But
Right.
I want to ask, so I want to point out, what do you say if parents say, but I've never seen a bullseye on my kid, like the old wives' tale, like it's the bullseye rash, like my kid's never been bit by a tick, and they're 2, but they still, like, what would you say to a parent that was like, but that I've never seen a tick or anything on them?
I would explain to them that not all people get the bullseye rash.
Yeah, and I didn't.
Yeah, and you can get different types of rashes. They won't necessarily look like a bullseye. Some kids will have no sign of it other than achy joints, bad behavior, that kind of thing. But you also have to remember, because I have a lot of people who come and they say, well, my kid was tested for Lyme. The test said no Lyme.
I heard that today.
Tests aren't accurate because they're looking for antibodies to the Lyme bacteria. When your immune system's not working, you're not making antibodies. That's one of the biggest reasons those tests fail. In the live blood, we see 5 indicators for Lyme disease. White blood cells that don't move well, white blood cells that are hypersegmented, meaning the lobes inside grow together. We see mycoplasmic cells, which look like bumpy cells. We see protoplasts, which are collections of bacteria with a layer around them that make them invisible to your immune system and antibiotics. And then finally, we see double-headed spirochetes. And what you have to remember is that double-headed spirochetes indicate one of 4 things: Lyme, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, syphilis, and a handful of Pacific Island-based diseases. Those are your options.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and that's what I love that you're pointing out, that your blood test is so different, and you do it with a drop of blood. When I went, I still, I come to you for checkups, and I'm still blown away because you get so much information. Like, my blood is still moving under the microscope, so I can see my red blood cells and my white blood cells, and it's amazing what you can get from a drop of blood. But it's like you said, your blood is your story of what's going on inside.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if you said that, but that's the way I put it.
Mm-hmm. It's the river of life.
It is.
It
So
tells us everything. And unfortunately, when you have blood drawn, they kill it, they centrifuge it, and they don't get the whole story because of that.
Yeah.
So,
it's funny because, when I had it 5 years before before I found you, and I went to probably 5 different specialists, and every single one of them said, there's nothing wrong with you. Your tests are negative. And, you know, I was even getting cortisone shots in my elbows because they hurt so bad and they were on fire to the touch. Now that was the Lyme, the inflammation from the Lyme disease is what I learned later. But even those doctors, they're giving me cortisone, yet they can't tell me, again, it's the Band-Aid. We're going to, let's make you feel better, but we don't know why your elbow's hot. So
a lot of times parents are just, they've been dealing with this for 2, 3, 4 years. They're frustrated, they're losing their patience. And the doctor tells them, look, it's nothing physical. This is a mental problem.
That's what I was told. The fifth one told me that.
Yeah, I had a patient who was 11 years old, and she ended up being institutionalized because her mother wanted to keep trying, and her mother believed she had Lyme. The father did not believe it because the medical test said no. Okay. And this poor child was institutionalized.
And you did the test that showed the Lyme indicator.
Right. And the father did not believe it because the medical doctor told them that I put the spirochetes there.
Okay.
He said, well, did she ever leave the room with the slide? Did she do something with her back turned? And the mother said, no, everything, and I do everything in front of people. There's no.
That's what I was just going to tell everyone. Like, you're right there, you're sitting there with Lynn, or, you know, if you send it in, like Lynn does this long distance by a mail, she can check your blood, and she has a certain way she ships. But you could even do, I assume you could even do a live video like here. So
a lot of people will do the Zoom videos or some type of video conferencing so they can actually see it. And I opened the package in front of them so they know it's definitely their blood that they've sent me. But I have a client who's in her 30s and her family is definitely ready to institutionalize her. She keeps talking about her ears. She pulls on her ears, scratches her ears. They hurt, they burn. She's obsessed with her ears and pulling at her hair. And these behaviors, I believe she has Lyme and Bartonella and Babesia. And that's something that people don't consider with children also. But many kids end up with Bartonella, and that's a tough one. That's cat scratch fever. And it's a hard co-infection to deal with, but you have to know that it's there and treat it.
Now, I don't know what that is. Like, where does that come from?
Bartonella is a bacteria that lives in the soil.
Okay.
And if you say you're a kid, you're playing outside, chances are you've got a cut or a scratch or something on your hands. You get your hands in the soil, you get the bacteria into the cut, you've got Bartonella. And it's a really devastating.
Well, that kind of sucks because I love to play in the dirt myself, and I know a lot of kids do.
Yeah, but you have to wear gloves if you're going to avoid the Bartonella. A lot of people don't.
And what about cat scratch fever? What is that?
That's the same thing. Cat scratch fever is Bartonella, and they call it that because cats have little hollow nails at the end, and they dig. If they're outside cats, they dig in the dirt, they get the soil, they scratch you. That's how you get it too. But it's not just from cats. It's in the soil, and if you're in the soil and you have a cut or something, you can get it. But if your immune system's working, you don't have to worry about it.
So you were talking about the young girl, the 11-year-old and the 30-year-old, and that was more of a, like the family, you know, I don't know if they had a mental illness diagnosis, but that's more along, like Lyme can actually cause mental illness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like bipolar, it can cause schizophrenia, it can cause, all that.
Bipolar disorders, depression is huge with Lyme.
I know, and I had it, yes. And they put me, that's the first thing they did was put me on depression medicine, and it made me a fucking wreck.
Like a zombie.
And then when I tried to get off of it, some kind of like, it's not pain-wise, but there was like an electrical charge in my brain that would happen. Yeah. And the doctor said, because of that, it means you shouldn't get off of it. And I'm like, what? I said, I'm trying to get off of something that you put me on. And so what I did, and I'm not telling anyone to do this, but what I did is I would shave off particles every day, and I'd take it, and then the next day, barely anything more. It was so gradual because I knew it was not good for me. It made me more depressed.
A lot of times they do. I mean, commercials that are out there for antidepressant, one of the side effects, suicidal ideation. Way to go.
Yeah. So, do you have time to talk a little bit longer?
Sure.
Okay. I just wanted to talk about also that I know babies can even, well, at least from what I've read or heard, that can babies, can it be passed, like how do babies get it? Or can babies get it? Or do they even know now?
There is controversy in this country.
Okay.
Most doctors will say it can be passed, but we're not sure. But in Canada and other countries, they're saying it's through the placenta. They're also proving now that babies can get it through breast milk.
Okay. Because I mean, I know when I was doing speech pathology full time, when I was working as that, I had whole families that have Lyme disease.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it's just like I knew. And here's the thing, I've always said, you know, back in the day, I would question God, why did I get this? Like, why did I get this? And I understand now, I had a lot of buried stuff that was affecting my immune system. But I also feel like I got it because now I know who needs to get checked for it intuitively. And whether it's clients I'm speaking with online, it's like I'll just know that they, or their child. So, and I always send them to you. That's what I do.
Thank you.
So I'm hoping to have at least one of the families I know who have seen significant improvements in not just themselves as the parent, because they have Lyme, but their children who are on the autism, they have the diagnoses, they're on the spectrum.
Right.
But they saw significant improvements once they started treating them for Lyme and the detox. And taking out the dye and, you know, all the stuff you said at the beginning. So we're definitely gonna have I'm gonna have a follow-up with that family, at least one.
That's
Is there anything else you want to share that I didn't cover, or we covered a lot today?
We did that, yes. Just that parents should be aware. And parents know their kids better than their doctors, better than the teachers, hopefully. And if your kid's behavior suddenly takes a nosedive and complaining of pain, or they're not eating as well, they're not pooping as much, they're complaining about eyesight problems, any number of things, consider Lyme.
Fatigue for sure.
Yeah.
Or even the, like, I don't want to do anything anymore like that. I'm going to say like ADD or ADHD behavior, like it can be.
Right.
I'm so glad you brought that up. And I really want to emphasize to everyone, if you could look at this, like Lynn does this long distance, and we'll talk at the end real quick again, how they can meet you or send, you know, contact you. It's an easy thing. You send them a kit, you prick the finger, they put it on a slide or two or whatever, and they mail it back to you.
Yes.
Okay. I am going to say this to everybody listening, that I think everybody should get your blood checked this way at least once. I get nothing from this. I am just telling you, this woman is a genius, and she can help you understand what's going on in your body, and then you can take it or leave it. Like, but just think how fascinating that you could actually have this test done for you or your children, just to get a second or third. Maybe you've already had 5 opinions. Why don't you get something different? Get this type of blood test so that you can see inside your body and what's happening with your child. I mean, it gold. I mean, I can't even tell you how many people I've sent and they followed through and they said, oh my God, thank you for sending me to Lynn because she saved my life. And I say the same thing.
Thank you.
Saved my life. So I am grateful for you. And I know Lynn and I are on this mission to, I mean, not just to bring people back to health, but to get the truth about Lyme out there. And who knows if we'll ever know all the truth. We're always learning. There's more coming out about it.
That's for sure.
If I can help someone feel better and get well, or even get their child back, like that's the least we can do. So tell everyone again how they would reach you if they wanted to set up, you know, if they want to set it up to either see you personally if they're here in Pennsylvania or want to come here, or if they want to do it by mail. How do they find you?
Well, my office is located in Hawley.
Pennsylvania.
On Shook Road in Hawley, yes. And my phone number is 570-234-8568. And you can text or call me on that number.
Okay. And do you have any info about Lyme on your site, or is there another site that you would say, go here?
No, I don't. But if you go to a website, ilads.org, it's the International Lyme and Associated Diseases Society. It's a really good site. They keep up with the latest research. Dr. Cameron is very heavily involved in that.
That was my doctor.
And mine.
Yeah, he was my doctor in New York
for a while. Yep.
Oh, I'm going to check out that website. I didn't know about it. Dr. Cameron, yeah, he's the one that treated me when I did the mainstream medicine for the first year.
Yeah.
So, great guy. Okay. Well,
And the website is lynshealingzone.com, all run together. You can contact me on Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
Dried blood by mail, I send out a kit and I have you call me because I prefer when people actually do it as an appointment. So like from Zoom or something like that. So I have to make sure I have the time to look at it because the time issue is very important. The blood will last the way I tell you to do it for 3 to 4 days optimally.
okay.
But you don't want to send it to me on Monday and me not be able to look at it until Thursday.
Oh,
You have to coordinate like an appointment. Some
Right.
people are happy just getting pictures, photos of their blood. Other people want to see the whole process, and I'm good with either way. But I do send out a kit with instructions, and you are to call me before you do it, and if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you for that. And I would suggest, if at all possible, that people do the video, like watching you live, because
Yes.
there's nothing like seeing your cells moving.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. Yeah, you know what? And Lynn, it's always quite the time when I go and get checked because like here's me, I'm like, there's a dolphin. Oh, I have a dolphin. I'm always seeing like, there's a North Star. Like, oh, like she has her work cut out for her when I go because I'm putting out cool stuff. There's a rainbow.
And you always have a lot of cool stuff.
We don't know if that's good or bad.
I think that's a good thing.
Well, thank you so much for joining me again, Lynn. It's been a joy and a pleasure. And I know that we're helping people with these videos and these podcasts. So thanks again. And I can't wait till we get to do another one.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time. God bless.
Bye.